Tough night in Ogden, Utah for the Coyotes on Saturday. Bob, you said it yourself afterward. When you play a team as good as this Weber State team on the road in their home opener, you have to play pretty much perfect. And unfortunately, your effort fell quite a bit short of that on Saturday. What was the most frustrating part of it, though, for you?
Well, I think the most frustrating thing is we didn't bring our best football. We had talked all week about having to play at a high level. Offensively, we got off to a really bad start. A lot of negative plays, didn't match their front seven with their physicality, and as a result, got ourselves in a really off-rhythm situation that we never really got out of.
Let's talk a little bit more about that Weber State front seven. That group, every bit as good as you said they would be coming into this game, and they got after you in terms of pressure. Particularly Austin Simmons early and often in this game, ended up with 8 sacks on the day. What allowed them to generate that kind of pressure?
Well, it was two things. Number one, we lost a lot of one-on-one battles. And in pass protection, you don't necessarily have to win the battle, but you got to create a lot of stalemates. And we had a hard time doing that. The other thing is they did a good job of disguising some blitzes that we didn't get identified through our protection calls, and as a result, they had free runners to the quarterback at times, and those two combinations, that combination of things, really was a recipe for disaster.
Your pass protection the first couple of weeks had really been pretty good. So did that part of it surprise you a little bit then to see them struggle the way that they did up front?
Yeah, disappointed. We needed to play well up front in that game. If they were able to get too much pressure when they just rushed 4, and obviously when they blitzed us, we didn't respond to that very well either.
Two other big parts to the story in this game. One of them was turnovers, 3 of them on the day for you. Ultimately accounted for 18 of the Wildcats' 27 points. In a way, their defense was their best offense in this game.
Yeah, the turnovers created tremendous field position for them, and when you give up a defensive score like we did, a high percentage of time you're going to lose, and that accounted for their first touchdown and allowed them to build a lead, which is not the kind of position you want to be in against a defensive team like that. And it was unfortunate, a couple of the other turnovers. One, we had a completed pass for a first down that bounces off our receiver's shoulder pad and into their hands. And those are plays that we need to make, and plays that we didn't make on Saturday night.
The other thing that I know had you frustrated afterward were the penalties. 11 of them on the day in total for 103 yards. It wasn't even so much the flags, it was the type of flags for the second straight week that you saw. A lot of the unsportsmanlike after the whistle type stuff that is in complete control of the guys out on the field.
Yeah, we had a couple of bad penalties. One that kept a drive alive that actually allowed them to put points on the board where we could have had them off the field and punting. A couple of other what I'd call undisciplined types of things, jumping off side on a 4th down situation that could have been disastrous. And then some offensive penalties that put us in off-schedule situations, which against a quality defensive team, you're going to have a hard time recovering from. So areas that we've certainly got to get corrected.
The good news is, in this game, things did go better for you on the other side of the ball. I mean, despite being on the field for almost 34 minutes in this game, your defense, I thought, played pretty well. Gave up just 250 yards of total offense or thereabouts, and 1 offensive touchdown. So they were holding them to field goals and giving you guys a position to at least get a possibility of getting back into the game. So was that at least encouraging here to see that group step up the way they did in those spots?
Yeah, defensively, we did the things that we needed to do to win the football game, which was keep them out of the end zone, make them drive the football the length of the field, play great on 3rd down. We were really good 3rd down defense. It's just that we kept putting our defense in really bad position. A lot of short fields, which resulted in those field goals. Talked already about giving up a defensive score that allowed them to build a lead and force us into a come-from-behind situation.
I'm sure you'd rather head into your bye week on a much more positive note, but it is what it is at this point. You can't change it. But how will what happened in Ogden impact the way you approach this next couple of weeks?
Well, we've talked about it as being an eye-opener. We've got some areas that we have got to get better. We've been talking about those areas since Kansas State. And unfortunately, Saturday, some of those areas that we've been talking about still continued to show up as being problematic. And so we've got a week here where we can really internally focus to improve as a football team in those areas that are going to impact the outcome of that game in Southern Illinois a week from Saturday.
In your opinion, what are those areas? What are the things you really need to focus on here to get better and be ready for the opener of the conference season? Because this is where it gets really important now. The missteps from here can prove to be very, very costly in terms of postseason future.
Yeah, we've got some fundamental things defensively that we can get better at. Offensively, we've got to get ourselves established in the offensive line to be able to run the football more effectively and obviously improve in our pass protection. I think the other thing is the kicking game. We gave up. We had an opportunity to make a big play that we didn't make, and gave up another big play in the kicking game. All areas that we can focus on internally this week.
All right, well, Bob, as always, thank you for your time. Try to enjoy the week off as best you can. Rest up, heal up, and we'll catch up again next week.